Darren, we better turn around.
Why?
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Number 10. Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Let's begin.
When Ouija came out in 2014, nobody was impressed by the movie. The consensus being that it was another forgettable horror flick about a supernatural force offing teenagers.
Was there something I could have done?
This isn't surprising given how hard it is to take a horror movie about a Ouija board seriously. But then a prequel came out in 2016 called Ouija Origin of Evil, and critics and audiences agreed it was much better than its predecessor, something rare with movies in general.
What is all the yelling? Look what she did! Did you do this?
No, she's lying.
This was in large part thanks to director Mike Flanagan, whose previous work included Oculus and Hush. Number 9. Curse of Chucky.
My friends call me Chucky.
You're dead.
No, you are.
The Child's Play movies made Chucky the quintessential evil doll. However, Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky took Chucky in a campy direction, focusing more on gags than on horror.
What? No, we didn't.
Oh, sweet face. Come to mommy.
That's not to say you can't have humor in a Chucky movie, but there's obviously such a thing as too much. The direct-to-video sequel Curse of Chucky is a return to form, bringing Chucky back to being a menacing icon rather than the joke that earlier sequels made him. Speaking of getting back to basics, Alex Vincent, who played Little Andy in the first 2 Child's Play movies, makes a brief appearance in a post-credits scene, ensuring that fans of the series stay tuned for future installments.
Play with this.
Andy!
Number 8. Saw 6.
Mr. Easton, what is this? It's a game.
The gold standard of torture movies, the Saw franchise dominated the horror genre in the mid-2000s with its gruesome traps and graphic kills.
And that's my way. And I brought proof.
But with a new film coming out every year, the series started to get old quickly, and the traps didn't seem as novel going 4 or 5 movies in. But in stepped Saw 6, which was a scathing critique of the American health insurance industry, with one of the main stories about a health insurance executive that was put through one of Jigsaw's cruel tests.
You must let go of one to save the life of the other. As you can see, the choice is not so clear when you are face to face with the people whose blood will stain your hands.
Saw 6 is often considered the best film since Saw 2, and it proved that the franchise wasn't completely out of ideas. At least, not yet. Number 7. Final Destination 5. The fun part of the Final Destination movies was watching the different ways that death would claim its victims with intricate Rube Goldberg-like steps.
I don't want to miss anything.
But similar to the Saw movies, the Final Destination series had trouble coming up with ways to keep this premise fresh. However, Final Destination 5 was able to come up with memorable deaths such as the gymnastics scene and the eye surgery scene. Plus, the twist at the end was a nice way of bringing the series back to where it started.
What's all that about?
I have no idea.
Number 6. Annabelle Creation.
What do you need?
Your soul!
The cursed doll made a spooky first impression in The Conjuring, which made things look promising when she got her own film in 2014. Unfortunately, that film wasn't well received with critics or audiences.
There has to be another way.
There is. I can make it right.
However, Annabelle Creation came out 3 years later and was the type of movie we were expecting. A prequel to the original film, Annabelle Creation gives a tragic backstory to the doll and explains with greater depth how it came to be cursed.
We said yes. And that's when it became stronger.
Actress Lulu Wilson was in both Annabelle Creation and the Ouija prequel, which shows that she was someone to cast if you wanted to make a prequel that was an improvement over the original. Number 5, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
Darren, we better turn around.
Why?
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Friday the 13th is one franchise that isn't afraid to go in different directions, but Part 5 might have gone too far, with giving us a different killer to continue the series other than Jason Voorhees. Luckily, Part 6 remedies this mistake by bringing back Jason, wasting no time by resurrecting him in the opening scene. Jason Lives does have humor that sends up the franchise with a lighthearted touch, but thankfully, the franchise did not continue in this direction beating a dead horse, like Nightmare on Elm Street did with Freddy. But we'll get to that later. Number 4, The Exorcist 3.
Enter night. This time you're going to lose.
The original Exorcist is one of the scariest films of all time, and Exorcist 2 is anything but.
Please bring her back!
Luckily, almost 13 years after the disappointing follow-up, The Exorcist 3 came to save the day and restore the good name of the franchise. Based on the novel Legion by Exorcist author William Peter Blatty, Exorcist 3 focuses on Lieutenant Kinderman, a character from the original film investigating murders committed by the Gemini Killer. The film has got one of the most memorable jump scares in horror and great performances by George C. Scott and Brad Dourif.
And on! He is inside with us! He will never get away!
Number 3, Scream 4. Released 11 years after the original trilogy had ended, Scream 4 was a commentary on horror movies that had come out since Scream 3.
Oh my god, I love it. I've seen it 5 times and it still gets me every time.
You're kidding.
I don't get it.
It was also a commentary on horror reboots, acting as some sort of cross between a sequel and a reboot. One of the strengths of the sequel was fun characters, such as Kirby, played by Hayden Panettiere, and Jill, played by Emma Roberts.
I need fans. Don't you get it? This has never been about killing you. It's about becoming you.
We didn't know we needed the film, but it was an improvement over Scream 3 and a nice chance to see Sidney, Dewey, and Gale again.
Dewey! Hey!
Listen. Gil, you made it.
Number 2, Halloween.
Have you ever really liked a girl and you just couldn't have her? I'm sorry, man. I'll peace out of your hair.
For years, the Halloween franchise had been a horrific mess, with sequels that kept sinking to new lows. Whether it was Paul Rudd playing Tommy Doyle in Halloween 6, or Busta Rhymes roundhouse-kicking Michael Myers in Resurrection, or those Rob Zombie movies. Then Halloween 2018 came along, and all it had to do was pretend that all the sequels following the original Halloween never happened. Directed by Pineapple Express filmmaker David Gordon Green and co-written by Green with frequent collaborator Danny McBride, the movie paid off, giving the franchise a terrifying fresh start. Horror fans are eagerly anticipating upcoming sequels Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Probably the first time in a long time Halloween fans are optimistic about the series' future. Number 1, Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Miss me?
Perhaps no horror movie character was hurt by sequels more than Freddy Krueger. While Dream Warriors was a step up from Freddy's Revenge, he was cracking jokes every chance he got by Dream Child and Freddy's Dead, and no one could take him seriously anymore.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too!
That's a shame for such a sinister figure. That all changed when Wes Craven came back to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise to direct a movie where Freddy was the menacing figure Craven originally intended him to be.
Hey, Dylan, ever play Skin the Cat?
New Nightmare gave Freddy the respect he deserves as a horror icon. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.